Welcome to the Howie and Beastmode podcast, where we discuss all things business, including growth, strategy, and execution, as well as personal and professional development. Let's join Howie and Beastmode in conversation.
So Beastmode, we've been talking, a little bit about social. We've been talking about, leveraging personal brand, leveraging business brand, using processes. So I think we want to kind of unpack that a little bit more.
Okay. I know we're in a series now called Rules of Engagement. It's this is one that I think deep down inside I've been really wanting to do. And so I'm excited we're doing it. Last week we really talked about just kind of the general thing, and that was to go first and to be respectful. That's kind of the two ground rules in my mind. If you go first and be respectful, your engagement is going to skyrocket, and so I know that you kind of have a thought process where you want to go, so I'm gonna let you lead.
Cool. Yeah, it's just some ideas we can kind of wrap back and forth, but we've talked a little bit about the concept of sort of like air cover. So if you're going to build an online presence, and I don't really focus on Facebook, although we are streaming right now on Facebook too. But I really focus on LinkedIn because I'm a business geek, like through and through. Business is my hobby. Business is my passion. And it's also my job. But so I've worked on my LinkedIn, presence, and I've worked on my LinkedIn approach. And I just wanted to share a few ideas of things that you can post that will help build a brand for you over time, where you can add value without taking, and it will help you. So I'll just kind of list a few ideas. Let's just kind of go back and forth of what some ideas are for things people can post, because people are sometimes like, I feel stupid, I don't know what to post. But I feel like I'm supposed to. So, so I'll share a couple, and let's just kind of go back and forth. One of the things that I love to do, and this about me, is that I love to provide a story from my past of something that was a good success that I feel like would be repeatable. And then I either do a video on that, or I do a write-up on that idea, and then I post it to my LinkedIn. And so that could be like a selling approach, or a business development approach, or a marketing approach, or human resources, or hiring strategy, or whatever it was. But people really value, and we're in this kind of this tribal culture where we really appreciate when people share with us what's working. If you think about it, that last car that you bought, you probably checked reviews, you know what I mean? And so if we're kind of wired to take feedback from each other, and we're wired to listen to each other, then by you basically operationalizing that approach of taking your stories and your ideas and posting them to LinkedIn or to Facebook, but I'm going to focus most of mine because I'm only, I'm a little stronger on LinkedIn, just to be honest. But I have found that to really work. That has generated for me, during my job search, several job opportunities that were very serious, and I was scouted out by CEOs, like very high level people. So I really recommend taking stories and examples of things that have worked for you or for your company. So if you're listening and you're a company owner or you're a senior executive, then why not have marketing posting you guys' very best stuff, actionable, practical stuff as a business without asking for anything. No sign up form, no lead form. Don't try to have, as Chris Walker says on his State of Demand Generation podcast quite a lot, you know what, if you don't gate your material, but you just give your material, then there's that authenticity from it. And they'll find you if they want to find you. But you post things out of value, out of stories, and out of examples, and you'll be surprised that honey will attract the right bees for your tribe.
It's a really great example, and from somebody who does follow you on social media and likes and comments almost everything of yours, I would agree. It's very, very engageable. For me, I love sharing weaknesses. There's a phrase that about a couple of years ago that came to my mind whenever I was reading through a couple of books about being a servant leader, and it's vulnerability leads to opportunity. Vulnerability leads to availability. Vulnerability leads to availability. Availability leads to opportunity. But you got to start by being vulnerable. So a lot of times when you share weaknesses, ask for help. Hey guys, what have you done in this situation? Hey guys, here's a situation where I failed. How would you guys help me succeed? Anything like that. Number one, people love to help. It's just in people's nature. They want to help, and sometimes they want to be a critic, positive or negative. And the approach isn't, I'm looking for engagement, and so how can I get the most engagement? On the back end, I can sift through what engagement I prefer and what I don't, what I value and what I don't, what speaks to me and what doesn't. But in the general world, vulnerability, in my opinion, leads to so much opportunity.
That's good. That takes a lot of courage. Sometimes I have courage to be vulnerable. Usually I don't have the courage to be very vulnerable. In fact, I pulled a post last week where I was vulnerable because I felt like it was too vulnerable, especially during a job search, for me to, expose me, or whatever in some way, because it made, it was basically me, the pain of a job search. You might have seen it, but I was only up for a few hours, and I shared it with my wife, and she said, "You know what? Not sure about that from a job search standpoint. That might not put you in the best light right now." Even though the feelings of how hard it is to go through a job search, those are true. People will resonate with them, but who knows how that'll look to a recruiter. You might want to not do that during this time of need. You may want to wait on that level of vulnerability, even though you're doing it out of compassion. So yeah, I think, it's good to be vulnerable, for, 90% of the time, for sure. I don't think I'm very vulnerable.
Yeah. And I know that I'm not in my nature, but just like empathy, I'm not very empathetic in my nature. But if you were around me, you would not agree with that. And it's because I put it in front of me. It's almost like stumbling blocks that I put in front, because I know that I'm better if I'm vulnerable. I know that I'm better if I'm empathetic. And so I choose to do that. And literally, it is a choice. I was listening to John Maxwell earlier today, and he was talking about one of the biggest things that we can do as individuals is to change our attitude. And it's probably his biggest thing. He said, what's the most effective thing a leader can do to become a better leader? And it was change your attitude. Every opportunity, there's an opportunity to change your attitude. And so,
Right.
And so it's the same thing in my mind with empathy and vulnerability. So
that's awesome. The next thing that we can talk about is sharing articles. So I shared an article from Inc. a few weeks ago, and it was on the topic of, if you doubt yourself a lot, you actually might be smart, which was such a weird, counterintuitive thing. But apparently people who are not very smart, they actually don't know it, because you have to be smart to discern that. It's a weird catch-22. And yet, if you doubt yourself all the time, you might feel not smart. But by actually doubting yourself, it might show that you're reflective and you have enough intelligence to know what you don't know. It's a funny article on that I got from inc.com, inc.com, and I posted that on LinkedIn with a little bit of some extra I shared the article, right? Because I thought it was good for my community to hear about. If you doubt yourself, it may not be a bad thing. It may be actually a good sign for you. And I added some comments to that myself, and that got almost 53,000 views.
wow.
So it's probably my number 2 or 3 ever. I've only had a couple that were really crazy like that in my whole time on LinkedIn. But my point is that you can go find an article that interests you. Your community might go berserk over that. So you don't have to, if your company, so Thomas was on earlier, actually he's on now, hi there. So your company may have some great content that's proprietary, but you also might just find a great, like Beastmode shared something from Harvard Business Review the other day that I liked. I believe it was you.
Yeah.
And so, that article has the opportunity to not only bless and help your community on LinkedIn, but also it reflects well on your brand because you cared enough to share. And also it's almost like you're the assistant teacher. You kind of pick up a little bit of the glow from the fact that you're sharing the article. can't guarantee you're going to have one hit 50,000 views. That's insane. I was shocked by it. But you know what? You might. But also, do we judge results really, or do we do things out of principles? And I think when you post out of a principle instead of posting for a results oriented, then you're free. Because I have some things get 3 likes that I thought was freaking incredible.
Yes.
I did one on something with construction, which is really way out of my space, but I had this cool idea. So I did I do like this prediction series, and it got like 3 or 5 likes or something. And yeah, I loved it. And so you want to get hurt when there's no reaction to what you do. But if you post out of principle that you're just there to help, then it doesn't matter what the results are. So anyway, long story, but posting articles is another great idea.
Do you think it was the article, or do you think it was the authenticity in which you added your comment to the article?
I have no idea. I wish I could figure it out.
I think it's probably both. You know, if you have a quality article and you drop, I always say drop a one-liner on top of it. You know, generally your one-liner that's authentic and vulnerable. If it's me, vulnerable, you know, then that's where those are the ones that really trigger and have the opportunity to steamroll to 50,000.
I think it's really insightful what you're saying, because maybe that article, because it spoke to me, because I do question myself in business, and sometimes I'm slow to make decisions because I'm triple checking everything and I'm worried that I don't know what I'm doing or whatever. And so I think the fact that I posted out of my own pain, it probably did communicate beast mode.
Yeah,
I think people can relate to not knowing what to do, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm slow to act sometimes because I'm paralyzed by, I don't have it all figured out yet.
Yeah. And I think that leads into my next. And I think I'm going the total opposite spectrum of you again, but it's posting a failure or posting something like that. It gives people the freedom to say, I did too. Wow. You know, and a lot of times that engagement frees people up to know I wasn't the only person who made that mistake. And then you get the conversation that triggers from that. It uplifts you uplift somebody else, knowing that I'm not the only moron who did this or made this mistake. And so it's just one of those, you know, and I do it probably every 3 months or so. And I just share a little bit more about my story, my history, where, again, 3 years ago, I was not a very nice person. I was an awful person, and I'm grateful I'm not that person anymore, you know, but sharing a little bit more about some of the failures and some of the backstory behind that. And it really just allows people to, that freedom to let their guard down a little bit more, you know?
That's good. Wow, that ministered to me too. I know that's weird wording for a podcast, but it just really spoke to me. I almost think you should rewind it a little bit and clip that, because I think it goes to that same theme of posting on purpose instead of posting for results. And if you are sharing a pain or a failure or a weakness online, and you don't have to overshare and risk yourself. There's a balance, but if you can be vulnerable and people can say, I have that same problem or that same weakness,
or I've been there.
Absolutely, or I've been there. I think that's so beautiful.
Yeah, the freedom. A lot of us have made dumb mistakes, and we think we're the only ones who've made dumb mistakes. You know, especially guys. You know, ladies are so much more emotionally advanced than us in so many ways. But you know, whenever you share a failure story or a time, like I was saying earlier, that I would sell clients because I was really good at it, but I knew that they weren't a good fit for the mere purpose that I needed to hit a quota. But it really bothered me, and it's part of the reason why I think I forced my way out, you know, that I just stopped being a good fit because I couldn't get on board with getting a customer for the sake of just adding a number, you know? when I knew they weren't a good fit, because I knew the filter system, even if my company didn't have the filter system. You know, and they didn't empower me to a position to say, to utilize that filter. You know, their only filter was dollars and cents. You know, when I'm more concerned on customer satisfaction. This guy's talked to me. He's going to email me. He's going to message me. He's got my cell phone. You know he's not a good fit, you know, but.
Just to validate you, not to get into selling and business development tactics, but there's actually a sales technique in Sandler sales training called stripping line. And it basically means letting more fishing line out and loosening the pressure on the hook. And then the fish feels more freedom to actually go really clomp on that hook, versus if you're really desperately trying to, get the fish on the hook, the tension of the line or something, I don't know what it is, but apparently it's harder to catch fish than stripping line and letting the fish put themselves on the hook. And so the Sandler sales principle matches what you're saying. So you learned it experientially, but it actually is a trained thing in sales to release pressure from people and to let them off the hook. And you'll be surprised, some of them put themselves back on the hook. So you're telling the client, this is so funny, you're telling the client, like, you're really not a fit right now because of X, Y, and Z. And so it's just like, you're just trying to think of them and you're not trying to take from them. And it's almost like some of them will come back to you and say, no. Let's talk about this. It's funny how that authenticity can kind of come back. And now if they do buy, they're buying based on true trust for their own reasons.
Yeah. Or, whenever you go through that process, and try it sometime, when you really filter out that a customer is not your client and you have this recall in your mind on the phone, try it. And I dare you to try it. Let them know, hey, Bob, it's been so great having this conversation with you. And I just want to let you know that right now, I don't think that you're a great fit for this product or this service yet. Now, I do think that in 3 months, after you do this, this, and this, the client will generally come back and say, well, how do you get me there? Because I want it now. So how can we speed up that 3 months process? And then that's where, if you have that capabilities, you say, well, then, okay, it's an additional service that we're going to have to do. It's going to require a little bit more out of your pocket, but we can do this. And they're going to say, yes, maybe they were on the hook. It was a struggle for the $5,000 to pay you, but now they're going to be willing to pay you $8,000 because now they trust you, because you're authentic. You were willing to let $5,000 go monthly or whatever the deal is, because you wanted to be honest. Now you got 8, and you got somebody who's bought into you. So when you tell them, hey, it's going to be 3 months before this really starts kicking in, you just bought yourself that time, not to play around, but to really do your business and do it well.
It's good. I'm kind of going back and keeping some notes on what we've been saying, so we can have this in written form too. So far what I've got is posting on purpose, not for a result. So it's kind of like a philosophy thing. Posting your stories and examples. So that's the first one that I officially covered. You talked about posting struggles and weaknesses. Is there a better word for that, or is that how you want to capture it?
Well, the first one I talked about was posting out of vulnerability.
Right. Okay. That's the same thing. I was trying to go for the right wording.
Okay.
I'll change the wording to posting out of vulnerability.
Yes.
Okay. Posting out of vulnerability.
Yeah.
Got it. No, what? Yeah, what?
You could just shorten it to be vulnerable.
Be vulnerable. Yeah, but I'm trying to title this for the group.
Okay.
Like posting this. So then I talked about posting articles. And we kind of got into some tactics. What would you like to cover next? What types of things can a company or a business person or individual, and Thomas is back on. Hi, Thomas. What are some topical things that are good, whether it be in your content plan? Some people like to operate out of content plan. I used to. Now I operate out of whatever I'm passionate about, sort of during the day, because I have a little bit more energy when I post with that recency that it's speaking to me. So I do it right then. But I used to have a content plan, and if you're a business, you probably do need more of a content schedule. So we're trying to come up with what are the things that you and I post, and also best practices that we've seen that people can use as a content plan, or at least as inspiration for the one-off stuff. So what's another
Okay.
one that you've seen that you resonate with, or that you do?
Yeah. Okay. My insight would be you need to do both. And I'll tell you why. And this is not just a business, this is a personal. That if you develop a content plan every Tuesday, I'm going to talk about this, and every Friday, I'm going to talk about this. It frees your mind the rest of the time to be more spontaneous, to be more creative. Because I know on Tuesday, I'm going to talk about engagement. And I know that on Fridays, I'm going to talk about leadership. And I know,
love this.
you know, and you can write it down in advance. And so I try to put my brands on a 90-day calendar. Let's talk about it. Let's get it all laid out. Is it going to free your creativity to be spontaneous in the moment? This triggered in me today, or this triggered in our business today. You know, a lot of really good businesses, Whataburger, Southwest Airlines, a lot of these brands do really good about, they have strategic posts that are just already planned. You can tell they're planned if you're industry specific, but then they're really good at playing into the moment, you know, and being spontaneous. And the reason why they can is because they've done the content in advance. And don't overwhelm yourself. It's really easy to try to be overwhelm yourself. If you're new to this, pick a day, 1 day a week, and plan it in advance for the entire month. That's 4 posts, 5 at the max. Okay, plan that, plan your topics, and plan what you're going to post, and have them ready. And then when that day comes, it's just ready to go. Because you know you're going to have that one quality that I really thought about. And then throughout the week, be spontaneous. I encourage it.
It's good.
What about you?
Well, you know, I've got that prediction series. I've never thought about having like prediction Fridays or prediction Mondays. I mean, I've never really thought about having, like, no matter what, I will do one prediction a week, and it will be on Tuesday. I've never really thought about having because you're ahead of me on content plan, because when I said content plan, I wasn't thinking that level of rigor. I love it though, now that you said it.
Okay, so let me say something like this. You like sports, right?
No, I'm a nerd. I like basketball a little bit.
Okay, so you're a nerd. So you like Star Wars. We already talked about Star Wars. Okay, why do they do the promos, right? What's the biggest reason they do the promos? They drop the promos in advance.
Awareness, excitement.
Of what? Excitement of what?
The movie.
Of the open date.
Oh,
right?
The open date. Yep, sure.
Yeah, that's exactly right. They want everybody to be excited and aware that this is when it's coming out. And then on the movie, they're real quick to tell you when the DVD is going to come out. I want you to know when my content's coming out so that you'll be ready and prepared to view it. So if I have a Tip Tuesday and my content's good, I want you coming every Tuesday to check out my tip.
Dude, I want to see you do a Tip Tuesday.
I do it through JL Development.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I normally put them on YouTube and on our webpage. But
wow,
yeah.
But you should put it on LinkedIn too. Tip Tuesday. Yeah. That's a fun one. Yeah, anytime you can use consonation and it's like T or J, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Actually, I guess you only have Monday, Tuesday. So it should be like an MM. Media Monday, Tip Tuesday.
Wake Up Wednesdays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it. That's smart. That's really smart.
And guys, okay, you can record.
This is one of our best episodes.
You can record this in advance. Okay.
Yep.
You can record the content in advance, because again, the levels of content are still frame content. Okay. Then it goes to more of like an article content where it's more in depth. Again, you're going to lose part of your audience, but again, you're going to grasp more of an audience. You're going to lock into them. Then it goes into short clips, and then it goes into videos, right? And so if I can collaborate all of that into one thing, have a short under 1 minute Tip Tuesday, Business Tip Tuesday, or Wake Up Wednesday, and so, and again, you can plan in advance. You can you can hop on Zoom, record a minute, You know, you don't have to get all fancy, and then just drop it in there. It's ready to go.
Okay, I like that. Okay, so I think the content, build a content plan and a schedule with rigor is really good. And then also Beast Mode said, you heard him say a second ago, he would do both, right? He would do also the stuff that I do, which is the spontaneous stuff, you know, and what Gary, and I'll just reinforce to you what Gary Vee says, which would support what you're saying, which is that it's a volume game. How the heck do you know what should go viral? You don't.
No.
You have no idea. I sometimes post something
and I'm
like,
that's not the goal.
No.
We talked about that.
We talked about that because you're posting on purpose. But how do you know if something's going to go viral or if it's going to just connect or it's going to help your brand? You don't really know. So you should just post it and do that. Do some spontaneous. So remember what Beast Mode said, do the content plan and do the spontaneous stuff. And who knows, you may have some weird random spontaneous thing and you're like, how could that have been so popular? I don't know, you know?
Yeah. The perfect example of that is TikTok. Okay. People doing unique, spontaneous stuff that goes viral because of just the nature of things. Yeah. And so you can't lose that. You got to have that. And again, you can plan your spontaneous time, you know. As much as that sounds weird.
Do that. No, it doesn't, because what I told you is that I lose energy on a topic if I don't do it right then when I've got the energy about the topic. Then if I go and I revisit it later. So what I could do in your scenario is I could use the energy of writing it or the energy of doing a video, and I could just cue it for later, and I'll save it on my desktop or whatever. And then on Tip Tuesday, that's the next Tip Tuesday or whatever.
Yes. And so
that's cool, man.
I do this exact same thing with JL, and I have in the volume, because sometimes the content comes in waves, and I mean, I'm telling you, June, July, and August was like a creative explosion went onto my mind, and I had so much content there, and literally there was no way to keep up, and so I just had my team do a backlog. And so what happens is every week it just drops, and now what happens is now I can add on to that thought. So now I can be spontaneous on top of a pre-planned creative thought. Now I'm doubling down, and it's just, oh man. So
that's cool. Love that. Yeah, I tend to, sometimes you're probably like, how are you posting 3 a day? And I'm like, I don't cue it. I just get it out of my body. It's speaking to me, and then I just get it out of myself. But I think I could easily just cue that as by writing it and then just saving it on my desktop or on my phone, or doing the video, or whatever, and then just saving that and posting it at the appropriate schedule. Would be interesting. And I don't know, I think I really like the spontaneous, but if I did an official Tip Tuesday or official Prediction Thursday or whatever it was, at least part of my strategy could be non-spontaneous, which would be nice.
And I would tell you that most people, I would recommend they not do so like if I had 3 amazing thoughts, the last thing I want to do is post them all at the same time. When you go to a really nice restaurant, you don't eat 3 dinners.
Right.
You need to savor and enjoy that one and come back again. And so, so I would say I would queue it up.
That is fair for sure. Okay. Well, hey, this has been a great time to talk about social media, business development, and of some great helper topics. Where can they find us?
Yeah, you can find us anywhere podcasts are found, on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, so many places that I don't even know, but I know it's there. You can also send us an email at Howie and Beastmode@gmail.com. And we're live on YouTube and Facebook. We're going to start doing pop-up on Wednesdays for tea or coffee or lunch break with Howie and Beastmode. So thank you guys so much. We look forward to engaging with you soon.